What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dripping Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Corvan. And
Hey! The redheads are here to crash this podcast party.
And this time we're interviewing Chris.
That's right. So, Chris, you often are interviewing other people, and I think one of the things you tend to start with is tell us a little bit about yourself. So let's have you tell us a little bit about yourself this time.
Oh, that hurts so much to hear coming at me. Oh, why would you do that? Oh.
Because we love you.
Wounded. All right. Well, then, just to start off, my name is Chris Corvan. I am the host of Driven Creativity Podcast. I'm also the creator of the Creative Coffee Cafe, which is an online community for creatives of all industries to get together and have a safe place to just chat. Beyond that, I am also now a published author. I do a lot of multimedia creation stuff and helping produce a lot of projects with a lot of different people, and eventually doing some filmmaking and all that stuff. And I'm a dad. I got kids and cats and all that shit. And that's me.
One thing I loved, I wanted to talk about your book for a minute, because one thing I really loved about your book, Shiver Silence, is how you use horror to tackle real issues such as grief. And I was hoping you could tell me a little bit more about that process and what that was like for you.
For sure. Before that, though, why don't you two introduce yourselves and let everyone know who's actually interviewing me?
Well, we're the redheads.
Yeah, I was like,
Leslie knows. After you, dear.
Oh, okay. I'm Nicole Grant. I'm a poet, and I'm working on my first novel, a science fiction novel. You can find me online at Fiery Feeds Brilliant Reads.
And I'm Tara Garwood of Terracotta Films. That's not like the clay, but like terracotta, K-A-T-A. And I am a screenwriter and filmmaker. And you can find me at TARAKATA films.com.
Perfect. See, I was able to bring it right back in there, man. Never losing the host.
Never losing it.
Yeah, using horror, like one of the biggest things that I love to do when I think of horror itself is it's a form of expression to release those emotions that you build up. Because those things are terrifying, like especially with depression and grief and all of that in your own mind, it is like a horror show. So if I can take that concept of the internal struggles and put it behind a eldritch creature or a mental mirror that's happening, it's an easy way for people to kind of relate to what's happening and understand that fear. And when you get why something is scary, it hits you even more why it's terrifying, and it resonates with you, right?
Agreed, definitely. I think it's partially because the fear hits you with the shibboleth, as you will, that you are dealing with, and then you get the metaphor, and you're already feeling that fear, and you're like, oh, that's what I'm actually scared of. Like, I think that's beautifully done.
Definitely. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, even my favorite horror movie of all time is The Never-Ending Story, and because it is a terrifying movie. Absolutely,
it is.
Most of the kids' movies from back then, you look at them, they're horror movies. Through and through, like those are the parts you remember. Artax dying, the wolf, like that. I used to hide behind that couch every time I knew that scene was coming. My grandma would have to tell me when that part was over because I was so terrified. And it's like those are kind of like the things that I want to instill in people when they're reading my stuff, is like just that visceral fear of knowing why it's scary and just being terrified. And if I can make you cry at the same time, I'm all for it.
So you kind of addressed what I was going to ask a bit, but I'll ask it anyways and see if you can illuminate us a bit more. Why horror? Like, what is what drew you to horror in the first place? Obviously the never-ending story, but like what made you really want to create in the horror realm?
Because I hate horror. I always have. I hated scary movies when I was a kid for the longest time. That kind of started with my father showing me, The Shining, Poltergeist, and, Terminator when I was like 7 to 10. It's just this innate fear of these things and hating absolutely every part of it, and just that internal torment that I would feel watching these, with the covered eyes and skipping forward in parts because I knew how scary it was. And it was like I needed to understand why I was feeling that way. And when you understand why you're feeling that way, it's like, I can do that. I can do that better. And that's kind of why I love it, is just because I hate it so much, so I want to inflict it on everybody.
Share the misery, right?
Exactly.
Well, you've mentioned your favorite horror movie. What's your favorite horror book?
Oh, see, that one bounces around a lot. The one that I always go back to, and I don't know if it's technically classified more thriller, but it's actually Horns by Joe Hill. I love that book so much. From the moment I picked it up, I couldn't put it down all the way to the end, and the way he was able to craft such a romance into a horror with this kind of like religious undertone through it all, and then how kind of it all coalesced together is just, it was so good. And it's one of the few books that I go back and reread once a year. Like, I own the audiobook, I have the book, I've watched the movie several times. Like, it's just, I love that book so much.
What's something that you think from that book has influenced your own writing?
Definitely the emotional connection on the characters, without a doubt. Because how the overall theme of the story is about love. It's about love, it's about loss. And the way that Iggy represents not only his grief of losing, but then the rage that comes with finding out everything that happened behind it. The development of the character is just, it's something that I try to capture, because I don't like characters that are one note all the way through, and I don't like if I can't relate to a character, I don't want to read about that character, be it the good guy, the bad guy, or just a random NPC. Like, I need something in there to hook me into them, and as long as I can kind of put that into each one of my characters, that's kind of what I'm going. I mean, even in my single post horror stories there, the lighthouse story with the lighthouse keeper, it starts off with just, a regular person doing a regular job, and then as you go, you're kind of seeing the story from not only his side but his ex's side, and the character development goes through, and then by the end you realize what everything was all about, and that to me was just, it's juicy horror. It's good. It's something that connects you to it.
So, of your works, stories and poems and things, what do you think you've written that has been the most effective, or that has been your favorite?
My absolute favorite is something that, actually, no, my absolute favorite is, it was for a series called Dustscape, which was originally set to be a 12 series audio story. And the very first episode is called Mia. I did the voice acting for it and all of that. Sarah Potts helped kind of tweak my original story there to flesh it out and really improve on it. But the story itself is about a guy sitting in a coffee shop next to his girlfriend, sitting across to her, and she's telling him, it's over, you need to let go. And the entire thing revolves around them sitting at this cafe, basically getting to an argument where he's going through this, why would you leave me? Why would you do this to me? People are kind of looking as he's getting more agitated throughout. And then you get to the end of the story, he's walking down the road to the cemetery and you realize she's dead. She took her own life, and he was just talking to a memory of her out loud in this cafe by himself. And it was just that entire thing was just like, it was gut wrenching, because like, you know, this guy, he comes across as an asshole. You know, he's yelling at this girl in this cafe, and people are looking, and he's trying to maintain himself, and you know, it was just him going through the stages of grief himself and losing someone that he loved. It was just, it was so much fun. It was so much fun to do.
I imagine with audio storytelling, you know, I've never attempted that, but there's differences to that in prose. So what's something you learned from attempting a project like that?
Definitely, the biggest difference between like doing audio in short form or any form compared to acting itself, it comes down to the amount of emotion you're putting into it, because you don't have the visual aspect to carry what you're trying to say. Like, you know, if I want to come across sarcastic in audio, you really have to lean into it. And it's the same with hurt, because, you know, you can't see the tears coming down my face or the look on my face conveying it. So you can't undersell a performance. And it's very much like stage performing, where you really have to send it out to the audience to make sure that people in the back can hear what you're saying and still make it resonate while you're basically overacting. And that's actually why I really love audio stories and things like that, because you can really just let go, and it doesn't sound corny, and it's nice when you can overact and not sound corny.
Well, in that specific story, it seems like it would lend itself beautifully to audio, because my first thought, you know, as a filmmaker, so I was like, oh, what is the short film? That would be cool. And then I was like, but you know what? It's perfect for audio, because you don't see that there's no one sitting there. So it's not on film on the TV in front of you or the screen in front of you that someone is sitting there and then they aren't. It's not a trick. You are just in your head imagining the girl sitting there with him. And then suddenly you're like, oh, I've been imagining it wrong this whole time. And that's like such a beautiful use of audio. I just wanted to like point that out.
even with, because I had a friend do the audio for Mia, because she had about 4 lines. But even in the editing of that, I added the kind of reverb effect. So yeah, it sounds like she's sitting across from the character, but at the same time, when you go back to listen to it, you're like, oh no, this is definitely in his head. Like, it makes sense. And yeah, no, it's just audio storytelling is just, it's a lot of fun for me. Not only that, it's also cheap to make. That's what I really love about audio storytelling, is like, you know, I can do up some quick artwork. I can pull out some you know, Pexel stuff and put it together to do kind of like a little video, but at the same time, it's not putting together a cast and a crew and all of that, and it's easier to get it out there, and that's what I really love about that, for sure.
So we've already heard about a little bit of the breadth of the kind of work you do. I'm curious, as I have been curious since I was like, I want to interview Chris. How many projects are you currently working on? And if you can tell us, what are they? And then as a follow-up, how the hell do you do it?
Oh, that's a question. Last count, that really depends. Are you talking overall, personal, or work?
Oh geez.
I'm getting overwhelmed just hearing that.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, wait. Okay, so give us an overall.
Okay, overall.
And then you can tell us when you tell them what they are, what's personal, what's work.
Overall now, as of yesterday, which added a couple more, I think I've got about 23 projects in the go right now.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So starting off with the one that's almost done, I'm dealing with printers and they're annoying, is the tarot deck that Winter and I did many months ago. Yes, that one is still there. I'm arguing with the printers over things because they're trying to charge me way more than I was able to raise, and because of it's a thing. So that one is almost done. And then beyond that, personal actual projects there, I have audio series. I have about 3 of those that are kind of been in development, ready to go, just kind of waiting for the right time. I have the domestic abuse documentary that has been put on hold for the time being, as I kind of form that one out. There is my first feature-length film called Ready to Go Live, which is about a streamer getting attacked while on stream. It's very cool. It's basically a single set movie, so nice. Very low budget, but just I love it so much. So those are kind of like the main personal ones. I have a tabletop RPG campaign book coming out for the Candela Obscura system, which
cool.
I may actually have to push until September, but it's done. I'm just kind of doing the fine tuning right now, and I'm going to be putting together an actual play for that one. So getting a bunch of people to play the game before I release it. So that's coming. I may be putting together another collection book just because I was looking through what I still have left, and there's a lot. Then moving into the more cafe-related stuff, there are 6 shows currently in pre-production development, with a whole bunch of amazing people wanting to do things. Those ones are a little bit easier for me because it's more of the production side of things. It's not me doing it all. It's me kind of organizing everything and saying, where can I help out? But this is mainly your project. I'm just here to help you with all the things you don't know how to do. And that type of stuff. So that's nice and easy. Then, you've got the podcast, the YouTube series, all of that stuff. And then we have the collection book coming from Fen, from the Cafe Fence.
Right.
And he wanted to do that, so I'm helping him. I'm being the executive producer on that one. And then on the not cafe side, but professional side of a whole bunch of things I can't talk about yet, there are about 7 different individual projects within town, and then working with a couple other companies for some things coming up. It's
That's amazing.
And as for how I do it, not well at all. No, it basically comes down to, like, because all of these things are kind of in different stages, it's a lot easier to just bounce between them, and especially because they are involving other people. So like with the shows and all of that, I say that I'm doing it, but a lot of them are in the hands of the other person right now. So then as they come in, I kind of deal it, move it to the next position and where it needs to go. It's just a never-ending thing. I mean, overall, I generally work about 18 hours a day. I get up at about 7. I pretty much start right away with, some coffee, social media stuff, that type of thing, answering emails, work all the way through because I do have work, and then, do things as they come up, and then I go to bed probably about 2. So, yeah, that's my life.
Oh my gosh. You are an inspiration. Like, I'm overwhelmed just hearing about it.
I will legit, and I've said this to several, never do what I do. Under any circumstance, should you ever do this way, it is stupid. It is bad for your health. It's bad for your mental health. It's just, I'm in a position now where if I don't get it done, then it's never going to get done. And I need these things to be done, not just for me, but for my family, because a lot of these things don't pay off until way later on down the line. And, I like to eat. Eating is important. And, paying things for the kids and the school and, rent. Again, a roof over the head is a very important thing to have. So I do it because I have to, and I love it.
So in the limited spare time that you have, I do know you like video games. So what is your favorite video game?
That one kind of bounces between what mood I'm in. If I'm in a very relaxed kind of, like, I don't want to think, like if I'm turning off my brain and doing nothing, I'm playing Satisfactory, which is a open sandbox factory building game. It's just you by yourself on a planet. making a factory and destroying the planet basically with industry. But it's a fun, relaxing game that I can just not think, and I love that. If I'm going to actually play a game, I have a collection that I kind of play once a year, such as like the Tomb Raider series, Quantum Break, Final Fantasies. But my go-to is Cyberpunk 2077. I loved that game since before they patched it and fixed it up. When it like first came out and it was still really janky, I fell in love with the world and the story of the game. And like, it's spoilers for anybody that hasn't played it or is going to play it, cover your ears, but it is one of the most beautifully written games because the bad guy is not the bad guy. So they built this entire premise on the fact that you watched a dude you were stealing from get killed by his son. And then he becomes kind of like the overall antagonist of the story. Everyone's like, no, we got to stop him. We got to do all that. We got to do all that. But if you dig into the actual lore and the story of everything, he's doing the exact same thing you're trying to do, which is take down the corpos, take down the massive corporations. That's what he's doing. But you don't know that. And he has no idea who you are. You're just a thing in his way. And if you play the game a specific way, you never run into him. You never see him. He's an antagonist that has no effect on your life, short of he's just the inciting incident. And it has so much depth and emotional grayness to the entire thing that I go back and I fall in love with the characters and the story and the world, and I'll just sit in there for hours just doing the same shit. I've got like 1,700 hours in that game, and I could rant on it for at least 7 hours straight.
How have video games influenced you as a creative?
Oh, massively. One of the earliest impactful story memories I ever have comes from Final Fantasy 3 over here, because halfway through that game, you're going to face the big bad, and you fail, and he succeeds, and he destroys the entire world. And from that point on, the world is completely changed. The geography, the layout, everything is in ruins. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I didn't know that could happen. Like, that's what we were supposed to stop, and we failed. And I mean, like, I'm like, what, 10, 12 at the time? And it hit me so hard, just the impact of a single event that you basically failed to change could cause this much trauma. And like even at the end of the game, the world doesn't go back. Like most games would be like, yeah, everything goes back to how it should be and everything's fine. The world is like it is, and you know, it's not going back. You just got to make do with what you got. And it was just like that type of storytelling alone impacted how I look at world building and character development and the real possibility of failure. And like, because I love failure in story. I think it is, you know, with tabletop RPGs, anything like that, I love failure because it's giving your characters a chance to redeem themselves, to become a better version of themselves through that failure. And you know, that's, yeah, video games, Chrono Trigger, like all of those stories have played a part of my creative process, not only in how I look at character development and world building, but just in how I tell a story. Because like Tara, I was raised a filmmaker, so when I'm telling a story, like even in Shiver Silence, I visualize each one of these stories as an actual movie. Like that's how I write everything, is based in a movie, which is basically a video game. And yeah, so it plays a massive part in it.
I could picture you like writing a. Oh,
go ahead.
I could picture you writing a video game one day. Is that something you've ever like dreamed about?
That's what I was
Doing the
gonna
same thing? we both have the redhead mind connection.
Yeah, no, I have some outlines for a bunch of different video games that I'd like to do. A lot of them are very like classic. Oh god, why can't I think of the name now? Oh my god. Oh, that's gonna kill me. Choice based. I very much like stories where you get to choose your path and your decisions and all that, kind of like Mass Effect and all of that, but more emotional impact and that type of storytelling through character interactions where you have to make the choice on where the story goes. Love it. That's one of the first ones that I really want to develop early on. I have the story already lined out. It's something that I've thought about putting into other things, but no, it has to be for this specific reason, and I'm holding on to it until I got the cash, man, because that's going to be great.
So do you want to do a community question?
Hit it, man. Let's do it.
Shall we? Okay, so this is from EL Knight, and EL asks, what events pushed you to build the Creative Coffee Cafe community and push so hard for everyone in it?
Yeah, no, that was all because of Threads. I mean, everything you see here is because of Threads, without a doubt. That was me having 200 followers on Threads for a couple months and talking with a bunch of other creatives, and they're saying, oh, I really wish we had, a place where we could just kind of talk outside of Threads, where it doesn't have to be all in this post, and we can kind of just hang out and do all that. And I was like, I mean, I could set up a Discord server. So I did a poll where I was like, hey, if I make a creative Discord channel for everybody, for all creatives, would you want to do it? And I had 18 people reply. I had 13 say yes and 5 say no. So Willow, Yarrow Sprout, was instrumental actually in helping me set it up. Not only for being one to really push for it, because they really wanted that, but once we got in there and helping me kind of set it out and get the word around, it was just it was nice because I'm a creator that is not just one specific industry. I branch out into everything. I wanted to be able to have a place where everybody could get together, because the thought of collaboration between artists and writers and musicians and filmmakers, it's like that is where real community comes from. If you stick all writers together in one spot, all musicians into another spot, sure, collaboration happens, but it's not the same as community growth. And to being able to take that concept and build everybody up, where it's not just one person using everyone else to get higher, it's everybody is doing the same thing, because we're all in the same boat and we need to lift each other up. It worked out extremely nicely, because I think within the first month of opening up the cafe, I had 100 members.
It's grown beautifully.
It's been fantastic. Like right now we're at about 140 members, but industry-wise, because again, not everyone is one specific industry. We're totaling like 500 different industry reaches in all of this stuff. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it so much.
What's one of your favorite things that has come out of building that community?
Oh, favorite thing. Community-wise, would actually just be the amount of just hanging out and chatting. As much as I love people going in and talking in the individual sections about their creations and sharing all that stuff, love that. That's amazing. Share all your stuff. I absolutely love that. But just having the ability to hang out and chat and know that you're in a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about the world kind of reaching down and slapping you. It's just talking about everyday life and hanging out, because if there's one thing that I've noticed, it's there's not enough direct human to human chat. Everything ends up devolving into what I want to do for you, or what you want to do for me, or what you want to get from me. And you know, which is fine. That's the nature of being a creative. It's the nature of business. So I get that, but just having a place where you can just chat and just be yourself and hang out with some friends is just, it's nice to have. On the more business side of things, the podcast, hands down, is the absolute greatest thing. Because again, like I started this specifically just because I wanted a way to showcase the members of the cafe, and also help these indie authors and musicians and all that who don't have interview experience, to show them what an interview is like in a safe and relaxed place. So you can kind of get over that, you know, the first one is done, we're good. I kind of know what to expect now, so I can go do more, and that's what I want to see. I want to see people grow and do amazing things.
To follow up on the safe space bit that you mentioned, I'm just curious, because there are a lot of people out there who have Discords or want to start a Discord. How would you advise people to ensure that they maintain a truly safe space in their Discord? What tips do you have?
That one boils down to the people you let in and the people you trust to help you run it. Because starting off, the cafe was very much this is my safe place for everybody. If you fuck with that, you are out. And it only takes one time. There has been times where I've had to kind of step in and go, hey, what you said was not actually appropriate for this specific reason. And, you know, I would like you to take it down. And if they don't, then they're gone and I delete the message. That's fine. You know, you can't be afraid of being that firm father figure or parental figure, because it is your community. You are in charge of it. But then also, you know, reinforcing that when you're talking with people, where it's very much you know, this is a safe place. I say it in almost every message that I talk about it. It's like, you know, and now we're at the point where I'm taking applications and I'm actually looking and kind of verifying the people that want to come in, just because I need to maintain that safe place, and B, make sure I'm not letting in people who are only going to use the people in the space. Yeah, because it's a free community. It is. And there's a lot of people that will try to take advantage of that. I've seen it happen in many other servers, and it's scary and something you definitely need to be worried about. And having the solid mod team behind me is extremely important. Like, you know, EL, Fen, Willow. I cannot speak more highly of Willow, as much as they don't think they're you know that great. They're amazing, and I love them, and am so thankful for everything that they've helped with. It's just been so I love the community. Anyways, I'm ranting now.
You all do an amazing job of just making it feel like a safe place to be, and a place where you can open up a little bit and be vulnerable and say, like, hey, I'm having a hard time, I'm having a hard day. And that's why I wanted to ask, because I feel so safe there. And I wanted to know how you do it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's again, it's everybody. I mean, everybody that's in there is very much knows what that place means, and is very, like, even the lurkers who don't say anything. Because I mean, like, in overall, out of everybody, where there's about a 30% engagement rate, and I totally get that. Like, I have no problem with creatives just hanging out for being there, which you know, it's hard to talk to people. And when you come into the community, I've talked to people who've just recently come in, they're like, it's a lot and it is a lot. There's like 93 channels now if you see everything, and then you have the community chat where everyone's chatting, and it's hard to keep up with. It's like
it goes fast.
It's like, don't try to keep up. Don't. If you happen to miss some stuff, that's perfectly fine. Just jump in. Just start your own thing, or just reply to somebody that you just see. That's fine. Just be yourself and relax, and everyone there's.
I usually just check what's been going on the past hour or two.
That's literally.
I'm like, if I miss the rest of the day, I miss the rest of the day. It's
literally,
over.
that's what I do. Is I have specific times where I kind of check in, say good morning, kind of look around, make sure everything's good. It's like, all right, I gotta go back to work. I'm watching y'all.
Let's see. Okay. Oh, here's another one. Another good community one from Cobalt Bellwether. As a podcast host, podcast house, I don't know what I was just saying. As a podcast host, you effortlessly guide the interview in a way that is both comfortable for the guest and engaging for the listener. Cobalt said this, but I agree. While developing your hosting style, have you drawn inspiration from any other interview hosts, and how do you bring your own unique energy into the role?
Well, Cobalt, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. Overall, I don't. When I went to start this to do the hosting, it wasn't me going and watching other hosts and figuring out what I really liked from them. I didn't do that. I didn't want to be swayed in one way or another, because the most important thing for me was making sure it felt like a conversation. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, I couldn't be worried about how I was presenting myself, and I just had to let me be me and just have my list of questions. And it really boils down to just being a performer in general, and starting my training very young to being in front of a camera, where it's I feel that comfortability of being on camera and having a conversation, mm-hmm. like I'm not on camera. And that's more of what I was trying to bring in, is just, having a conversation between two people just hanging out at a coffee shop is really the vibe I was going for. And if I can kind of maintain that, then my job is good.
This one's from Allie, and it circles back to something we were talking about before. So from Allie, how do you manage to make so many ideas reality as opposed to simply thinking about them to death? Do you have any ideas percolating that you can share?
I have failed a lot in my life. Flat out. That is what it boils down to. Sitting here thinking about projects has been my entire life. And a lot of that had to do with actually pre-diagnosed with ADHD, and the fear. When it came down to it boils down to, I've spent my life being afraid of failure and afraid of success. Very afraid that not only will I not make it, which usually happens, but if I do make it, I won't know how to handle it, and I'll fuck it up. And that has stopped me more than anything else. Like, almost, I would say easily 50% of my book is all ideas that I've had for movies and shows and different things over the past 10 years. So, these are all the failed things that I've never done anything with, where I said, fuck it, I'm going to do something with it. And and I put it into the collection. And then after the diagnosis, my brain kind of stopped hating me as much, and I stopped, not that I stopped self-doubting, because there's always self-doubt, but I started saying, fuck it, let's do it. And I'm a firm believer in the mantra of don't think, just do. Because the longer I think about something, the more likely I'm never going to do it. So, for example, the Trevor Project live stream, which was absolutely amazing, 150% raised from our goal. So had no advertising short of organic word of mouth. It was amazing. But that came together, because Sarah Burton and I were talking, and she said, I would really love to do something this month to help the LGBTQ plus community. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And that night, within about 3 hours, I put together the entire plan for the Trevor Project, for the live stream. And then it was like, okay, this is a great plan. I think we can pull this live stream off. The next day, like, there was no stopping. So within 25 days, we put together an entire 5-hour live stream with 16 different creators, originally supposed to be 25, then a lot kind of backed out at the last minute. I had to do a lot of swapping in and out of people. You know, just, there was no time for me to doubt what I was doing, because I was just going to do it. And that is kind of how everything I've accomplished has been done. I can't think about it. I just have to trust myself and do it. And as for other things, what was the other half of Allie's question there?
Do you have any ideas percolating that you can share?
Oh God, I have. Yeah, I have on my Drive folder. I have a specific folder called Stuff to Do, and in that is actually divided up between TV series, movies, books, audio series, web series, and ARGs. And in each one of those is at least 5 different quick outlines or treatments for various things that I want to do. I have a lot of things in my brain that I would love to do. One of the kind of, when I get settled down into everything, is going to be really focusing on the audio stories, just because I want to utilize not only the voice talent we have in the cafe, but the artists, because I really want to get the artists to do the visual aspect of the audio story, kind of like comic book style. If you've seen Duscape or anything like that, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about when I say that. But yeah, there's so many things I want to do, and eventually it boils down to just getting the money to do it, or finding the people to do it. Because one of the biggest hindrances I had prior to my own self-doubt was not trusting people back in the day. I wanted to do everything myself, and that was a trait I got from my father, who instilled that into me young, is do it yourself, don't trust anybody. But kind of starting, 2 years ago, when I kind of got the ball rolling on not the cafe, but my own personal stuff, and then into the cafe, it's like I need to trust people. I have to put myself out there, trust that if I bring someone in to help, they'll be able to do what they say they can do. And if they can't, then it falls on me, and I'll have to pick up the slack and do it. But I have to expand my own personal community to do all these things that I want to do, because I'm okay at doing these things. I'm just okay. But I would much rather find somebody that does it amazing. And in order to do that, I do things okay to prove the concept that it works. It's like, the podcast and all this stuff. It's like, I've proved the podcast can work. Now I can go and help these other people do their shows, and they are going to be amazing at their shows and way better than I am. But I've proven the concept, which means I can, move forward, and people will trust what I'm saying a little bit more.
So you mentioned, oh, sorry. I was going to say, you mentioned your ADHD. And I wanted to ask about that because, yeah, I was diagnosed a couple years ago. So I'm hearing some things that are familiar to me. And I'm just curious, as we're talking a little bit around it, how you feel like your ADHD affects your creative work, and for good and for difficult. Like, how do you think that sort of wraps around all of it?
It plays the most important factor out of absolutely everything. I think 75% at least of creatives have some form of ADHD. It's an inherent thing in how our brains work and why we can create so much. I mean, yeah, because I overthink everything I do, A lot of times it plays the factor in convincing myself I can't do something because my brain has thought of all the reasons and ways it could fail. And all of these things are just weighing it down. And again, that goes back to the, don't think, just do concept, where it's very much if I let the ADHD take over, I will get nothing done ever. Because it does play a factor in not only the creative side, but the personal side and the daily living side of things. It affects everything, and it has become a evolving track of reteaching myself how to live. For a while there, after I got on the medication, I felt like I had lost my creativity, that the medication has stolen it, and that's something I've heard before. Hello, cattail. And I realized that it wasn't the fact that the medication stole my creativity. It changed my brain. And in order to get myself back to the creative space I wanted to be, I had to retrain myself how to be creative with the medication. And as I did it, I found I was actually more creative, and I was able to comprehend what I wanted to do easier. Like to put in context there, creative without medication was amazing ideas for amazing single things. It was just this one amazing, perfect idea that was just so golden, and you'd look at it and you go, this is the greatest thing in the world, and you fixate on it so much, and it's all that matters. And then somebody comes along and goes, okay, but how are you going to get there, and what's going to happen after? And you're like, oh, good point. So you just kind of throw it away, right? Mm-hmm. And I had so many of those just lying around, so many of those from pre-medication. And then on medication, I built it, and I looked at it and went, wow, that's amazing. And then I would go, how do I get here? And that would create a new sphere on top of it, which led into it. And I was able to kind of chain these thoughts together better, because it wasn't just hyper fixating on one thing. It was seeing the entire world in itself. And once I retrained myself to do that, it opened up a lot of things. The hindrances of everything really boil down to, I still have an extremely low self-confidence in myself, like extremely low. It is, confidence-wise, in everything else that I do, in my creations, the podcast, the community, I am confident in everything else in my life, 100%. When it comes to my own internal self and doing something for me, I can't do it. I hate myself a lot, and it's a very detrimental thing that has stopped more things than it's created. And that's one of the things that I'm still working on is learning to love myself as much as I love everything else,
Yeah, thank you for being so open about that. That's really, for me, a lot of that was really helpful to hear, like talking about relearning how to do things on the medications. Like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. So yeah, thank you.
The question I had earlier was, you were talking a lot about trust, and that was really a refreshing take for me to hear, because I feel like so often in the community, people will tell us these horror stories, like, I trusted this person, and I think that's good so people don't go into things naively. But I'm curious, kind of two parts of that, like, how do you strike that balance? And also, part two of that question is, it seems like, I'm curious if you working on being able to trust people also lined up with you accepting failure too. It seems like that has been something you've been working on.
Completely. I think so when I first kind of decided to move into this direction here, I had people that I opened up to right away and brought in right away to help me with things, and due to life and events, they were not able to accomplish what I needed to continue going forward, and all of that fell to me to handle. and it hurt. It sucked. There was a lot of trust issues right out of the gate. But life happens, and regardless of anything, I can't control everything. I think what it boils down to, trust, is I don't put everything into a person. I don't put my, I don't say, here, I trust you to take care of all of this for me. I don't. I specifically ask for trust in one area. It's just, I need your help doing this one thing. That's it. Because I know if it falls through and something happens and they can't accomplish it, I can do it. I know I can. Like, everything that I'm doing, I know I can do. I'm just trying to find people that can help me lessen the load on myself and do it better. That's it. So if I'm trusting you to do something, it's because A, you're amazing, and I would really love to do this with you. And I trust you to take that and put that energy right back into it and trust me. And if you don't, or if something happens, hey, it's how it goes. We were talking about that on Threads this morning, with the, I would much rather trust everybody and live with failure than trust nobody and miss out on some of the greatest people I've ever met. It hurts, especially in some situations. It hurts. It sucks to fail and to lose, but at the same time, I wouldn't be here right now if I wasn't trusting the people in my life, and I wouldn't change that for all the heartbreak in the world, man. Did that answer it all? I kind of lost the question halfway through.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let's see. I think we had one more community question. Do you want to ask it, Nicole? Or do you want me
Sure. Well, you might have it up faster.
Okay, I have it up right here. So VM saw, he saw your interview with Raven's Breath, and you had a hot take on book publishing, and VM would really like to know what that hot take was.
A hot take on book publishing?
Do you have a hot take on book publishing, or were you talking smack?
Was the Ravens? Well, I'm trying to, because there was two different hot takes and two different interviews that I cut out.
Tell us both.
No. Actually, you know what? I will tell you guys, and then I'm going to cut it out. The first one was actually about esports and gaming. So anyways,
I never thought about it that way, but that makes perfect sense.
It does, and I'm going to cut it out because that would piss off so many people. It would start, and I don't want that kind of traction. I don't. I'm trying to stay positive and happy here. I'm trying to remember the other one.
Viensa would like to know your hot take on book publishing. So you've just published a book, self-published, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say about that? What was your experience with that? Any hot takes? Any lessons learned from that?
So when it comes to book publishing side of things, I have a very KDP, not the best way to go about handling how they deal with their manuscripts and that stuff. So the reason why the printed version of my book is $14.99 Canadian, ebook is only $1.99 Canadian, is because I had to completely reformat the ebook. The printed book has beautiful pictures. It's got the nice title fonts. It's got custom fonts. Everything is nicely formatted because I was a designer for a very long time and I like pretty things. It did not translate to KDP properly at all. I had to change every single font. I had to adjust the pictures to these little tiny pictures at the top of the things, redo each of the page. It was a pain in the ass, and I hated every single minute of that. But the other side of publishing is I have a weird take on it because when I say I'm not a writer, I don't mean that I don't think I can write. I don't say it because I don't want to be. It's writing is not my end goal. Being a writer is not my end goal at all. It's not what I focus on. It's a tool that I use to do everything else I want to do. Real writers, everybody in the community, that's not me, that's their passion. That's what they want to do. That's what makes them a writer and an author and all of that. And that is very much a title worthy of that and how they do it. I'm just a dude that took a whole bunch of his shorts and collections and shit, put it in a book and published it in like a month. It doesn't equate the same to me, because I don't put the same amount of stock into the event itself. It was amazing and I loved it and I'm so glad that I did it, but there are so many better authors out there that have worked so much harder for what they do, and those are the ones that really need to be shouted out and shown the gratitude for and helped through, because dealing with the publishing side is fucking weird. It's weird, and it's not an easy enough process for people. I think that's really what it boils down to. It's like, sure, it's a step-by-step walkthrough thing, but you really have to understand every aspect of it. And there's no kind of friendly way to go, hey, just do this one thing. It'll be fine. Now do this one thing. Like even with the cover, to get a print cover from KDP there, you have to design the cover itself, but then add your full bleed size. But you can't have the crop marks or anything like that. So when they give you the size that they want, they give you the full bleed size, not the page size, and then say, hey, now add on 0.25 inches onto that for your bleed. No. They give you the full whatever, and you have to figure out then everything yourself, unless you have a cover designer doing it for you. It is not an intuitive process, and when you're stressed out about writing a book and editing a book, it's too much. And don't get me started on editors and how much they cost, and book cover designers, which I didn't realize was a completely separate thing, and they charge even more. The industry is designed to milk an indie author for all they have. For a book that chances are they're not going to sell that much. Because A, there's a lot of indie authors out there. And B, unless you're loaded, you are not going to be able to put the money into marketing that you need to see a return on that book. You're not. It's a very... You know what? This might have been the hot take I cut out. This might be it. I think we might have found it.
Tara knew how to lead you to it.
There are amazing writers, and I mean truly amazing writers, never get the recognition they deserve from their book. They don't. And a lot of that has to do with how many books are out there, how many authors are trying to self-publish, and how many don't have the money to do a proper marketing job. And it is terrible, and I hate it, and I wish there was a better way to do it, but there's not. The really good shit is not being picked up, and instead of the industry helping those, they're gouging these authors for more. I mean, your average book editor is like, what, $3,000 for 100,000 words?
Wow.
Like, you were going to spend so much money, or you're going to put something out that needed work, but you didn't have the money to get it fixed. And because, again, you're one person, things are going to be missed at all. Like, I found things in my book that I need to go back and correct. They're formatting stuff, but like it happens. And because the industry is just like, yeah, pay us and we'll do it. It's like, no. Like, why are we doing it that way? Like, that's part of the reason for one of the upcoming things for the cafe, with, you know, opening up a Patreon and all this other external stuff to bring in revenues. I want to be able to have a editor on retainer for authors to, you know, submit their book to get done, because that needs to be done. Cover designer, I would love to be able to pay a cover designer to just be on retainer when somebody needs a cover for the cafe, because these are things that authors and writers need and don't have access to because it's so fucking expensive. So yeah, there needs to be an industry change when it comes to especially indie authors, because it is not designed for them. And the greatest writers we will never know are not getting the recognition they deserve. And I would like to change that.
I think it already helps to have the community involvement, because you can have people get beta readers or things like that they normally wouldn't have had access to. Like, before I was involved in any of these communities, like, I asked like my friends to read them. That was great. They're like, oh my God, I loved it so much, which helped my ego, but doesn't help my project get better.
That right there is one of the biggest things, because it's different when you're getting a review back from somebody that understands what you're trying to do, and especially in a way where they're not hurting your feelings and being a dick about it. We all know those people, but at the same time is being encouraging to help make it better, with the understand that if I'm going to critique you on your story, it is not because I hate it and I think it sucks. It's because I think you could reword it to be more understandable for this reason. And I love this concept, but this doesn't make sense to me. And helping you kind of build your own craft better by understanding how other people are seeing your work. And I think that's the overall goal of having, you know, beta readers and ARC readers and all that, is having somebody come to you and go, this is amazing, this is great, but I don't understand this chapter, or what were you trying to say here, or this kind of comes across a little bit, maybe tweak that a little. Yeah. You know, those are the creative circle you want to surround yourself with, and that goes with everything, not just writing, but, you know, music and film. I mean, how many movies have gone out there where it's like you're looking at it going, how did that line make it past there? How is this Mike doing, like, what happened during this entire thing, that, you know, and you find out is because they were surrounded by yes men.
Yep.
And yes men aren't going to get anything done. You need people that are going to understand you enough and that you trust, going back to the trust concept, to hear what they're saying and not be offended by it. And by understand it's about making you and your craft better. And that's you know, the other goal to the cafe.
There's definitely that mutual trust there, because especially as I'm starting to give more people feedback, that's nerve-wracking, as that you're like, oh my gosh, are they going to be offended? So when someone takes that feedback well and is gracious about it and everything, that builds your confidence too as a beta reader.
Definitely. And you know, quick little segue here, that's one of the things we're building right now, is a beta ARC reader. Eva is going to be holding that one and building that. We've got the form and everything going, and it's going to be especially with what's happening right now in the industry with, like, leaked books, especially for indie books, having this kind of, like, specific signed up for thing where it's like, we know the people that are reading these books, we know where they're posting and all of that. Like, we kind of have more of a control over the trust we're putting out there.
So they're vetted.
Exactly. And where it's like, you know, you may leak it and that's on you, but we will find out it was you, and then you're going to be blacklisted from the list. And I would love to be able to have that, the sense of the cafe community of a safe place in that form of a list, where it's like, if you're on this list, we trust you. And if you break that trust, you're out. And then for other people in the industry that are not part of the cafe to go, hey, I want to use your list for that specific reason, I think that's a very good thing that could be very helpful to especially.
But why wouldn't they just join the cafe?
You know what? Well, and that's kind of the other half where it's like, I want people to come in the cafe, but at the same time, I don't want to force people into it. I want you to come in because you are going to enjoy what we do and who we are and the community, and then all the other things that I have coming up for the community. But I'm not going to, it's a free community. I'm not forcing anything, and you're not paying
and not
for anything.
Everybody hyper fixated on Discord
Exactly.
when they found writing groups and creative groups on it. Well, do we have any last wrap-up questions? I don't think so.
This is more I've talked, and I think the entire series. 63 episodes. I don't think I've talked this much.
So then, Chris, the last thing I'll ask you, which, we always have to ask at the end of the interview, where can folks find you, Chris?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you, Tara. First, before I do that, I would just like to thank both of you for this. It has been nerve-wracking and worrying having two redheads coming at me. I gotta say, little terrifying, but you two have been unbelievably amazing. Your questions were absolutely fantastic, and it was so natural and smooth, and I loved it so much. So thank you both for that. It was very nice. As a series finale, season finale, not series.
Yeah, I was like,
As we go into season 2, this was a great way to kind of cap it off, and I'm very thankful. As for me, my name is Chris Corvan. You can find me everywhere at Chris of the Void, and that is pretty much everywhere: Threads, Instagram, X, TikTok. You can find me everywhere at the Creative Coffee Cafe. You can find me in so many different places. You could probably throw a rock and hit me. I actually had somebody on Threads a little while ago, wasn't following me, and they saw me reply to something that they replied to. They're like, "Hey, I see you everywhere on here." I'm like, I don't know. I talk a lot. I'm sorry. But anyways, that's my rant for the day. Thank you both so much. Why don't we get you two to give us one final where people can find you?
Terracotta Films on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and terracottafilms.com.
I'm located at Fiery Feeds Brilliant Reads on Threads, Instagram, YouTube.
Absolutely perfect. And then we're just going to end this one with let's just say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
And that is a wrap on season 1 of the Dripping Creativity podcast. Holy shit, people. This has been amazing. A huge special thank you to Terracotta Films and Fiery Feeds. Tara and Nicole, you two are absolutely fantastic. You did an amazing job interviewing me. I don't remember talking that much ever, so that was fantastic. I enjoyed it so much. As for everyone else who's still listening, don't forget to like and subscribe, share with your friends. Get ready for season 2, which is going to be dropping in the mid-September with some amazing guests coming up. I've already started recording. I can't wait for this. It is going to be so much fun. Thank you all so much for everything. I am humbled and blown away by how amazing all of you are. So thank you. Once again, my name is Chris Corvan. You can find me everywhere at Chris of the Void. This has been the Dripping Creativity Podcast, part of the Creative Coffee Cafe community. And remember, stay creative, stay inspired, and until next season, see ya.